people that they know and say, hey, we're going to have a pool party. It's going to be a great time. And this is how it was set up. Grandparents lived here. Me and my mom lived over here with this lunatic and my brother. And then my aunt lived over here with my cousins. And so that night, this guy, Roger, who was married to my mom, saw my dad, went up to him and he goes, hey, I saw you looking at her. And he's like, what? And one of my dad's friends was a biker named Gene. And so he overheard this shit, and he's like me. He's a tack dog. He doesn't give a fuck. Grabbed the dude like this and fucking threw him out the front door, down the stairs and everything. He hauls ass next door and grabs a shotgun. And this is where shit gets funny and it goes sideways real fast. So we suddenly find out homeboy's mad. He went over to his house. These are all drunk people, by the way. These are all drunk. People who are just the type of drinkers that don't give a fuck. Yeah, alcoholics across the board. Especially this guy. He was a cokehead. Bad dude. And so this guy married my mom. 3 months later, this guy is barricaded inside my house that my dad built for my mom that she kept when they divorced. And as she was, 304 in it, she was on the cock carousel for a long time. And so she met this dumbass mechanic from West Virginia named Roger. And he had a son named Roger. Called him Little Roger. We'll call him Little Roger. Little Roger was a couple years older than me and also taller than me. And so, and he was a spitting image of his father in terms of how horrible of a demonic, evil person he was. Because he took every opportunity to humiliate me, humiliate my brother, threaten us with fucking violence on a regular basis. Like he's going to whip his fucking belt. I'm like, what, you going to fucking hit me with that? So you got to understand, I was about 10 or 11 years old. My grandparents have this party. And this guy goes and grabs a shotgun, because he wants to kill my dad. Or he wants to kill everybody because the guy was a fucking Looney Tune. He grabs a shotgun. Now, if you guys know anything about weapons, shotguns with birdshot, they may shoot 20, 30 yards, with some impact for birds. But the rest of it's just raining fucking lead. You could just fall on you and you wouldn't get hurt. This moron shoots across the fucking yard. Kabam! Everybody's like, whoa! SWAT team comes. Now remember something, fellas, that in the 80s, the SWAT team, when they came, they didn't kill people automatically. When the SWAT team showed up, he, folded like a cheap suit and walked out. But before that, he stuck a fucking gun to my mom's head, and he stuck a gun to this lady Sharon's head. It was my mom's friend at the time. She was trying to calm him down. And so when the cops took him, my brother went with my dad to his house for the rest of his life. I stayed with my mom. Then, the following fucking day, she bailed him out of jail for what he did that night. So you can see, as a young guy, first of all, I wasn't protected by my adopted father. He did not take me with him for a fucking reason. He took his own son, of course. He didn't take me. But instead, I was basically held hostage with this motherfucker for all the time that he was with my mom, up until this bullshit. And road trip to go up see his family in West Virginia. This motherfucker's stopping on the side of the road, like threatening to beat me to death. Like every 15 fucking minutes. Calling us names. And I think what it was kind of like lions. When they get with a new female, they kill all the babies. That's what he was doing. He was trying to do that. So when obviously I was a 10 or 11-year-old kid. I'm not going to put up with this shit, but I'm too small and I don't know how to fight. And he has a son that's older than me. We get up to West Virginia and his family's having a little party or whatever, like a daytime thing. And someone decides to do a water balloon fight. So the water balloon fight's going good. Everybody's having fun. We're just lobbing balloons, and I let little Roger have it with one of them, and he just dove on me and just grounded pounded me like that. Meanwhile, his father grabs a camera and is taking pictures of his son beating the fuck out of me. Now I'm trying to escape because this guy is beating the shit out of me and his son. My fucking mom says, "Get back there and fight like a man." I would never know how to fight like a man. Why? Because the man that you were married to that was trying to teach me to be a man, you divorced him. And then you married this fucking psychopath that treats me literally like a redheaded stepchild. So it is in our best interest as people who are normal people to not accept this shit. Now realize, 1980s, people could get away with this stuff. Now it's to the point where it's overcorrected to the point where everybody's fucking mentally ill. But is it real mental illness? We know that people who are mentally ill tend to do bad shit to their kids. One of the reasons why I'm such an advocate for fathers is because without the father, the real father, in the home, he has no way of protecting the kids like the situation that happened with me. Now, if you have a father that cares about you and loves you, he would never let anything bad fucking happen to you. This guy, the guy that my mom married, he wanted to kill us. He was not interested in having fucking kids around except for his. So you can understand I had quite a bit of a resentment for a long, long time. Mostly directed towards my mom because she was the one that allowed this guy into the house. She was the one that chose him over her kids and the safety of her family. And because she grew up in that environment of abuse. Now, what I understand about my grandfather and my uncles is my uncles sexually abused my mom. And my grandfather was a fucking womanizer. And he had a sex fetish with fucking lots of women. So he was a powerful dude. He was able to round up women. Grandma found out about it. She stayed with him. You see what I'm saying? So there's some weird stuff going on in this family. He got my grandmother, probably the very first set of fake titties that ever existed in the 1980s. I remember giving her a hug as a kid. They felt like this fucking mug. So my grandma was basically, she got the Kim Kardashian treatment, the boobs and the liposuction and the whole deal. But my grandma was already beautiful. She was a beautiful lady. And her grandpa was a sex fiend, and she was in good shape. She had genetics, she had good lean body. But these are all people who are sick in the fucking head. That's why I started my life over when I told my own brother to fuck off. When I told my own fucking dad to fuck off. Because they clearly chose sides in this fight against me. Because if it's inconvenient, people will take sides with the other parties. You follow? Child abuse isn't just hitting and sexual. No, a lot of times it's mental. It's the majority of the time it's mental, and then it leads up to something physical. And that's typically what happens. Now, why I say that fathers need to be in the house is because if they're in the house from the time the child is born, the chances of him having mental health problems are halved, less than 50%. If they're just with their mom, like I was, and I was getting beaten the fuck up by grown-ass men, then you can understand why I would push so hard against mental abuse for children. And even my own kid, listen to this, you guys. My own son, who has been raised by his mother because he was alienated from me the whole time, he believes he's paranoid. He believes he has schizophrenia. Now, I don't know the story behind that or why, but I do know that his mom told him that I had schizophrenia. And my mom told me that my dad had schizophrenia. There has never been a diagnosis for my father having anything wrong with him. And there's nothing wrong with me, with the exception of what the fuck happened to me in the goddamn war. But afterwards, let me tell you guys this. The pain that we experience as kids is so profound that it actually rewires our brain. The trauma that we have have to live with over and over and over and over again has to be arrested in order for us to grow. Because a lot of kids that are abused, they close, and that's what I did. I closed up. And people are always wondering, why do I look so angry? Why do I look this way? Well, because I don't choose to participate in this fuckery. I know what it is. Even my own brother, he's a lying sack of shit too. He's like two-faced. Like he went to see his father, and I call, or he calls me, and this is on my birthday, my 50th birthday, and I don't say a word when I'm on the phone. I'm like, what's up? No, I just can't. Nah, nah, nah. So they initially start by thinking that they can joke with me, like I'm one of the fucking guys after what they did to me. You're like, I should just forget about all that stuff that happened. I should just forget about, what the fuck Kelly fucking did. Kelly. I had two Kellys. One of them was my dad's wife that decided that she didn't want his kids in his life, so she decided to alienate us. She didn't realize that I'm going to sue her for everything she's got. I'm going to do a forensic audit on her fucking kids. And I don't care. See, they don't plan on giving me an inheritance because they've already found a way to siphon it off to those kids that don't belong to him, that aren't adopted, but to the fourth or fifth wife this man's had. And the fucked up part, this is why, you see what I'm saying? These are little cogs in the fucking sprocket. Grandpa died. All right, Grandpa died. Father gets the majority of his stocks, his money, his bonds, basically all of his assets. He passes away. The father, his son, my adopted dad, gets the majority of everything, gives my brother, a homeless fucking junkie, a drug addict, some ridiculous amount, like hundreds of thousands of dollars, close to $1 million. And then within 2 years, he shot up his arm. He had given it all away, and he was homeless in a house that his dad gave him with a gift of equity. So he was able to live in a free house, not pay for it, do drugs, get bailed out. And I understand why his dad cut him off, doesn't want to help him anymore, because heroin addicts are fucking assholes. And I used to feel sympathetic for him, but now I'm not. Now I don't care. Now I'm very apathetic to heroin addicts because they become a demon that doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about me. It's so strange that, and I'm not saying I'm normal by any fucking means. I got the brain damage going on. We got the insomnia going on, so I'm good. I at least recognize I got problems. But what caused these issues is cumulative traumas that happened over time. And what Roger, the guy from West Virginia that married my mom, that stuck a fucking shotgun to my mom's head and shot at my family with a fucking birdshot, moron, is that the idea that the guy who threatened my family, my mother went to the jail the following day and bailed him out. This guy was taken out by the fucking SWAT team. Now, what bothered me most wasn't that my mom bailed him out, was the fact that I had to fucking stay with those people. While my own brother is with his own dad, not dealing with the fucking psycho that's yelling and screaming and threatening to fucking kill me all the time. So I do blame my dad for abandoning me with this fucking asshole and my mom, which is a drunken lunatic. So you see what I'm saying? I know I was a problem as a kid, but not enough to pawn me off or push me off onto an abusive situation where I could potentially fucking die. So I started to notice these little details of what this man, his lack of interest and lack of desire to give me any kind of care or safety made it fucking evident why. And I understand why. There's been a few times where I beat the fuck out of his son for good reason. My brother provokes me on a regular basis. Even now, as a grown fucking man, he's trying to provoke me in order to get an emotional response out of me. And he didn't. The last time we didn't talk. Last time I was a one-sided conversation. I'm like, what's up? And he's like, well, you're used to whatever, and you were dating girls that were older. I'm like, dude, you don't even fucking know me. Like, The people who you grew up with think they know you. They think they know the 40 or 50-year-old version of you, or even a 30-year-old version. See, I haven't been around my family since 1992. So that when I did come around them, they didn't have any current information on me. People remember you for how you used to be when you were younger, the last memory they had of you. So I was in tech school and I was going through plumbing or electrical or HVAC or something like that in my first portion of engineering school. It's a requirement by the fucking Air Force to go through tech school. People at that point can decide, do I want to take my career to the next level? Do I want to become an officer? Whatever. So I'm escaping, essentially, from an abusive family that mentally abuses, minimizes every goal or any prosperous thing or any idea that you might have. They belittle you and try and minimize your efforts. What's fucking great, and I'll tell you this, is that I've been sober now since the 19th of March, 2002. Okay, that's 22 years without a drink. I'm very happy about that. No one can minimize that. No one can negate that. That's a level between myself and the Most High God because it takes time to get over alcoholism. It's taken me fucking years to stop feeling the way I did. And I drank because of causes and conditions in my life and my family. And because the mental anguish is so fucking severe. Then when I went to war, it was tripled down on that shit. So coming back from that and people trying to minimize your career or minimize the fact that I'm not drinking or anything like that, yeah, they're kind of suspiciously proud because they're enviously proud. Because people who are envious don't want anything that's good for you. And if people are abusing you because they feel like you're weaker, you're not, you don't have enough status or you're too short or whatever reason is that a parent or somebody else in your family decides that you're going to be the target and the focus of everything negative they have to say. Like regular basis this is why a lot of people, when they go off to the military, they never go back. This is why guys like myself, when I went off to the military, I never went back. And I said, I'm not going to. So if I was to give up, this is why I'm starting to do these podcasts on a regular basis, because I want my own son, who's in Germany, to know exactly what the fuck happened. To exactly what the fuck happened. But that's not important. He got a mess. He got a whole story, from his mom after the fact. I never talked to this kid till he was 22 years old. Because you remember the story. His mom ran off from the turkey. I never saw the kid. And, she threatened to kill me, so I left. That's the funny thing about ladies is that you cheat on them, they threaten to kill you. They try and ruin your life. They want to call 911 if you screw around on them. Now I'm in a different world. Now I wouldn't even think about cheating on my woman. You fucking crazy? It doesn't even compute to me anymore. So I'm not saying that I'm better than these people, but I fucking am. And I plan on really exercising some. Now I've got some fuck you money. Now I got some legal power. So I got 2 people specifically, 4 people that were directly involved with this abuse, with this mental abuse that happened to me in my life that caused great fucking damage to me over a period of years. And it has taken years and years and years of therapy to get over it. And I'm still, you might have a resentment for somebody that like nags at you or gnaws at you. I'm over all that. I'm not here to say I fucking hate anybody. I don't want to. But one of the things that my brother said when I was on the phone with him the last time, when I wasn't actually talking, I was like, what? He's like, what? Do you fucking hate everybody here? And then he says, yeah, you can fuck off, you piece of shit. And he hung up on me. Remember, I didn't say a word. But his true colors came out because he was used to me, trying to get approval from my dad, trying to get approval from him, and this is what he does. This is my favorite part. It's like my first year at this academy, we had all Mexican students from the dental school, the medical school, the civil protection, the fire departments, all doing classes here on the weekends. So I'd have like 30, 40 adults here, firefighters or whatever, doing classes with Commander Nacho. And so he's giving his class, he's teaching, all this stuff. Everything's fine. everything's good. People are really positive about the program. Start inviting more people. And my last adult class, we had so many people, we had to go to the park. So the classroom space is pretty limited, and it's great for kids, but it's not great for adults because it's not like an auditorium we have down here, but it's basically, large salas or living rooms or whatever you want to call them, boardroom meeting, boardrooms, that size of room that would seat about 12 people. Well, when you got 30, 40 people, different story. But when you got kids, training kids is a different story. And I've found that transition. I didn't ever transition. I always train adults and kids. It's always been the way. But now I've been focusing more on kids because I don't want those kids to grow up like I did. I don't want those kids to feel the effects of not being able to defend themselves against abusive mothers or fathers. The neighbors next door, those kids trained with me for 2 years when I first got here, and their grandmother loves to beat them, loves to beat them with the broom, beat them on a regular basis. And what I did, because these kids are so small, they don't have any resentment. They don't understand abuse yet. But what I taught these kids to do, and I never said, your parents hitting you is abuse. I would never say that. But what I did do is I say that, first of all, your parents, they may traditionally try and discipline you. Okay? So be a good boy. Now, if you're being a good boy and they hit you for no reason, now I'm going to teach you how to defend yourself. So let's say grandma is just mad and she wants to hit you. And she wants to hit you right here with the broom. What you got to do is literally lift your hand up like you're combing your hair and just cover up like this. Okay? What'll happen is she's going to hit you in the arm, but she's not going to at least hit you in the face. Your arm can handle a little sting, no big deal. So what I started doing was teaching the kids how to defend themselves against anything or anybody. So after about a year, I talked to the grandma, which, by the way, is laughing and joking with me on a regular basis about practically everything that the kids are doing and whatever. Now, I don't know that this kid is getting beat by his grandma until we start talking about how good the kids have become. Like, they're doing better in school, they're better behaved. And she's telling me, yeah, I don't hit him, I don't try and smack him anymore or hit him anymore because he knows how to defend himself. I'm sitting there thinking about it. Just imagine these little, like, 6, 7, 8-year-old kids just like, bam, bam, grandma can't hit me, ha, 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 ha. I didn't know how to do any of that when I was a kid. Instead, I had motherfucking Roger Meadows and his son, Little Roger, beating the fuck out of me because I didn't know how to fight. I think that's probably what pushed me into the direction of self-defense, jiu-jitsu, and Muay Thai, was probably mentally thinking, I don't want my kids to grow up like I did, not knowing that you are allowed to fight back, that you are allowed to stand up for yourself. I didn't know that. We were all trained in the 70s and 80s to be docile. But at the same time, we were humans, especially as men. They wanted us to be docile, so we were, but we were simps. 70s and 80s, guys, all you got to do is look back and you'll go, holy shit, my dad was a simp, my grandma was a simp, my uncles were simps. They worshiped women, they had cognitive dissonance. So all of them had problems. The two things I find to be the most troublesome in life in general is romances and finances. Romances can fuck you up mentally as well. And if it's a relationship with a woman who has some trauma from the past or from her childhood, then you're going to be the victim of those same things. And a lot of the mental abuse that men experience from women is not because of the ex-boyfriend or it's because of the father, the grandfather, and the uncles. The father abandons. This is 1970s. In 70s and 80s, dads were cheating. There were lots of alcoholism going on and plenty of womanizing. Because that was the world in which we lived in. We ended up with divorces skyrocketing, then the end of the family courts started making tons of money, and they changed this thing from a system of justice to a system of extortion of men. And the play that's going on here is to convince everyone that women are good and that men are bad. And anything you say bad about women, now you're bad. So you're a misogynist. Even if you call out something as blatantly obvious as cheating or hitting or any of the things that basically we used to do as men. And when I say that it's probably not a good time in the world to get in a relationship because basically they have become the old versions of us men. The womanizers, now they're, what do you call that? Cheaters. Paternity fraud is 30% in the United States, so that means that 1/3 of the children born are being raised by a guy that's not theirs, their father, and the guy doesn't even know it. Psychopaths. This woman that held my son hostage for 22 years, which you know, she didn't care. She just wanted a simp to finance her. Because simps will happily wife up a single mother, give her anything she wants, because it's guys like the alpha or the beta. The alpha fucks and the beta bucks. So what she'll do is she'll get knocked up by an alpha guy, or Chad or Tyrone, and she'll trick a simp who's got money to support her financially. Now he might not be on the grade scale that the guy was, who's way up here. He might be here in the middle, but he's stable, and she doesn't respect him because he doesn't cheat, which is wild. And then amazing that now in today's society, that if you're a man and you decide that you're not going to be a cheater, the woman will lose respect for you. What the fuck happened there? Used to be that if a man was unfaithful, the woman would fucking hate the guy and then leave him. But what's actually happening is they're the ones cheating now. Yeah, fucking A. And here's the statistics. 30% paternity fraud. 1 year after the divorce, 40% of kids lose touch with their fathers. So you got the 30%, which is a valid reason for alienating the father because you don't want him to find out that the kid's not yours. Such a sucky world. But now we're living in a world of full-blown mental illness where you've got grown-ass men, grown men, wearing fucking costumes, dressed like women, and then going and reading books in schools, talking about how a person can have two dads or two moms and it's okay. Those people are abusing these children. And I'm not talking about sexually. They might be gay, they might have lesbian partners or whatever, and they may never hit that kid one way. But I'm going to tell you something they will hit when the kids go to school and the other kids who have normal parents say, well, why do you have two mommies or why do you have two daddies? It's disgusting. Because kids are not stupid. Kids will tell the truth because they haven't been conditioned enough to become that mentally ill that they would accept truth for being a lie. Which is where we are today. I'm at the level of my life right now where ¿Cómo estás? I'm at that position in life now where where we can decide at any point, to turn the ship around. I don't play games. What ended up happening is that children that are the products of dysfunction, the products of abuse, the products of paternity fraud, these are the kids that end up in prison. So I want to read you guys statistics. The saddest part of So let's look it up. We're just going to go Google. We're going to go to, let's see. Statistics of men in prison from fatherless homes. Statistics. 85%. Oh my God. Listen to this, you guys. Listen to this. I'm going to read the statistics on fatherlessness in America and the profound impact of mentoring. Now, one of the reasons why we're in this school together is because I could do one thing right. And that is, as a guy who grew up without a father, I know it's like to survive from that. be productive, have kids that love you, and everything else. So here we go. Fatherlessness in America and the profound impact of mentoring. Children growing up without a father in the United States has become an epidemic. Here are some troubling statistics about fatherless children in the U.S. from the National Center for Fathering and the Fatherless Generation. All right, here we go. 85% of youth in prisons come from fatherless homes. 71% of high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 90% of homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. Nearly 25 million children live without their biological father. 60% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. Now let's look at something we can combat using these statistics through mentoring. Okay, so you can go to mentor.org. I'm not part of that, but what you see I do every day is mentoring. So if you're not sure, look at my videos. That's mentoring. Okay, so 55%. Okay, these are statistics of at-risk youth who have a mentor. That means kids that are at risk for abuse but have a mentor. 55% are more likely to enroll in college. 78% more likely to volunteer regularly. 90% of them are interested in becoming a mentor themselves. I don't know how this is possible. 130% more likely to hold leadership positions. 46% less likely to use drugs. 81% more likely to participate in sports and extracurricular activities. So the impact of mentoring is amazing when you can do it. Because if you want to be a mentor, you have to offer something that the people want. And if you have what they want, they're going to be willing to go and listen to it. And I was willing to go to any lengths to get over the fact that I was getting my fucking ass kicked by a grown-ass man from fucking West Virginia. And why I don't think that, it could have all been avoided. Because simps are a very, very big problem. And in fact, simps are probably the reason in simp enforcement that a lot of us get deleted because we want to defend all the women. And the women are actively abusing men mentally. Say, these are women that were probably abused or saw their mother abusing their father, and they duplicate the process. I know that because my daughter says, I'm just like my mother. And I'm like, really? Hypergamous? Illiterate? A lot of stuff. A lot of bad stuff. I have no respect whatsoever for my daughter's mother. She's an idiot. And she knows she's an idiot. And everybody knows she's an idiot. When she left me, she lost her fucking passport so she didn't have to come back to Germany. She wanted to go live with her sister. And see, now I'm the fucking bad guy. They literally didn't know that what she did, playing innocent, was that she had strategically decided, well, I'm going to leave because my sister just got a boob job and now she's got a rich boyfriend. So I'm going to go to Florida and I'm going to go do whatever she's doing. Well, it didn't matter because 3 months after she had gotten back to the States, she already had a boyfriend. I already had divorce papers. And see, my daughter was so small, she didn't know any better. But now, see what I'm saying, guys, is that when you're alienated and your girl pushes you away or keeps you away from your kid, what ended up happening is that those kids end up doing exactly what you did or what they did. And that is they'll repeat the cycle of abandoning kids, cheating on women, being an abuser, being a womanizer. You can be a good mentor and eliminate any of that nonsense because when you're at my level, when you meet me in person, you wouldn't imagine that I would cheat on my wife. There's no fucking way I would cheat on my wife because I see life differently than a lot of people. If I make a mistake for it, if I make a mistake or do something stupid, I'm almost immediately punished for it. Like consequences, immediately. I do the right thing, I'm praised, I'm given rewards for it. So you can actually see why it's beneficial for you to always do the right thing, to always tell the truth. Now, it might put you in a position where it might make you look weak because you decide, I'm not going to fucking lie to anybody. I'm going to tell the truth at all the time so no one can accuse you of anything, ever. And what's awesome about that is that once you have admitted to all your stupid shit you did in the past, all you have to do is just reinforce that truth. Like, look, I was this, I was that. Because when I was coming up on YouTube in the 2000s, and you would say something like, let's just say we're talking about just general medicine, testosterone replacement therapy or whatever. What people will do is they'll jump on your comments and say, what are you, a doctor? You know what I mean? Like, what are you, a doctor? When all you're doing is just saying, hey, this is what people do, and here's the website that backs up what was said. So what people would constantly do, they dox you. They figure out, like, the guy, I don't mind anymore. I don't care. Because, really, what are you going to do? A master criminal ran off to fucking Mexico. I mean, I broke the law 19 times and was arrested 19 fucking times. So I'm not very good at being a bad boy. One of the reasons why I'm sober now after 22 years is because every time I drank, I was always getting in trouble. So I was raised by fucked up people. They mentally abused me. I had to go through fucking alcoholism, post-war PTSD, and then years of fucking therapy and AA meetings to be able to form a fucking sentence to you right now. To be able to come on the camera and say, hey son, I know you're in Germany. I want you to know I love you. And I know I've never met you before, but the longer you're on here talking to me, actually you're just listening to me, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to him as if I'm having this conversation with my own son right now. And I'm going to fill him in with all this wisdom I've been given and imparted to me. Because he doesn't know me. His mom's been mentally abusing him since the word go. She's emasculated him. She's done all the things that you could possibly do to hurt me through him. Now he thinks he's mentally ill, which he might be if you live with her. Or if he's related to her, because she's psychopathic. She really does have psychopathic tendencies because she committed paternity fraud with her ex-husband. And she got pregnant by this guy, Mike, who was his best buddy or one of his guys in the military. And, Gerald Swiger. Gerald Swiger is a good dude. He's in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And he's a big old black dude, nice guy who's from Army. He was stationed at Vogelway or Klebershausen, one of those places. So I owned the video store, the cassette tapes and shit back in the day, the cell phone shop, and this one little building that was right outside the Army base. So all the bros come in and they're buying cell phones from me. And I get like the prettiest girls to come in the cell phone shop and work. So I would get all these dudes from the Army base to come over and buy phones from these pretty girls. Meanwhile, this guy, Gerald, see these two Turkish girls outside the barracks. He's like, damn, these girls are fine. Well, Turkish girls don't have sex before marriage. And they don't marry Americans, much less black Americans, because they would definitely get ostracized from their parents. So this girl gets with this guy, and they become a thing. What's up, little Jackie? Salute to you. Gerald knocks this girl up, he thinks, and he's stuck with her for, I guess, a year or so, 2 years. Goes back to Pine Bluff, Arkansas, and this girl sees me, and it's like, ooh la la, I like you. He looks like he could take care of me. He looks like he could support me and my daughter here that I'm fraudulently extorting fucking child support from the father. Monthly. You know, that guy has lost his license like 12 fucking times while he was unfairly paying child support for a kid that wasn't his. Oh, and that's a fact, you guys. 30% of children born in the U.S., actually it's the world now. Jamaica is like 60% paternity fraud, but the highest rate of paternity fraud in the entire world is in India. India has hypergamy like you would never believe. They have marriages that are arranged, And what they do is usually it's a rich boy from a rich family, and he pays a dowry to this other girl's family, and they have this all set up. These girls in India are sick of their men. If you think it's bad in the States, the Indian women have zero respect for the Indian men. And just like in the States, there's Chad and Tyrone. Well, what's this nuts over here in India is cleaning up, and he's reproducing with everybody's wife. And a lot of times they know it, and a lot of times they don't. Do they still practice the caste system in most countries? They do. In most Muslim countries, Arab world countries, they do. I think they should probably consider in some countries making that like a big thing right now. I know they want to incentivize us going to Japan and going to Korea, and we'll pay you like 60,000 a year just to come and get girls pregnant down here to repopulate the. Don't do that shit. Don't fall for it. If the world collapses and there's no more legal system, there's no more monetary system, then there's no more record system. There's all clean slate for everybody. Start over again. Problem is now we're in the caveman world. So you need the caste system. There's always been a caste system. There always will be a caste system thanks to the elites. Now, I know Jackie's in New York, I believe, and we talked yesterday about the base of the Statue of Liberty is a star fort. And most people who know that a star fort, they think it was built by the Spanish or whatever, when these star forts are basically ancient before they're even found, they're discovered. So yes, we do need a caste system. The caste system in the United States basically started off as people who found these abandoned buildings that were buried under 3 or 4 meters or 12 or 15 feet of mud. And in these buildings, they had tons of gold. So there's nobody there to say, hey, no, don't take the gold out of these buried mansions and shit. San Francisco all the way to New York has had just mega structures that were buried in the mud. If you guys go on YouTube and you look up John Levy mud floods, you will be astonished. It'll change your whole perspective because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Especially somebody that's in New York that has all these ancient buildings they have buildings built on top of them. You guys see the archways and you think, oh, that's the basement. No, motherfuckers, that was like the first or second floor. The rest of the building is down below. People are thinking, they like the Jews during COVID, they dug all these tunnels. No, they didn't. Those tunnels have been there since before Prohibition. Those tunnels have been down there since before 1776, whatever. They've been down there since before 1492 when Columbus, if he was a real person, sailed the ocean blue. The real story is that in 1492, they knew the United States was here. They knew that there was gold here. And it was one mission. It was not to enjoy and populate the new world because that came later because they had to cover everything up first. Meaning they had to go to places like Utah, for San Francisco. And these palaces that are unbelievably large, they have to repurpose them. So they say, we have founded this building in 1810. It wasn't built, it was found and uncovered. Look at the old black and whites of old New York. And then look at the streets. You'll see covered wagon, horses, carts and buggies, mules. Yeah, they built all those structures. Yeah. Look up the population of New York in any century. 1800, 1700, 1600. And you're going to fucking be in shock. Okay, so what is the population, let's say Catskills, okay? Let's say the Catskills. Let's say the Catskills had, at present day, well, how many people are in the Catskills? Let's look this up. I know I'm going off topic here, but once you realize that you cannot unsee this shit, okay? Because it makes no sense for example, in Utah, they have these huge churches, these huge libraries, these huge mental institutions, those buildings were there before the Mormons came. They just took them over plastered them up, painted them, and took them on, adopted them, basically. All right, so let's just go back in time. Okay. What was the population of New York City in 1800? Okay, so here we go. Population of New York City in 1800 was 60,000 people. For New York, the entire state of New York. And they took up a land area of 1.5 miles. So the population density at the time is actually 38,866. So, okay, so let's jump forward to from 1800. We know that New York City, New York, period, had 60,000 people. How many people were there in 1800? 1900. According to this, in 100 years, they went from a population of 60,000 people, which is about the size of a stadium, to in 1900, 3,802,000. So you have 3,802,000 100 years later. Okay, so let's go back 100 more years. Let's say instead of it being New York 1800, let's look up the population of New York from 1700. Okay, so remember that number, 1800, 60,000 people. Okay, so what was the population of New York in 1700?
According to histoire.ac-versailles.fr, by 1700 New York had a population of almost 5,000 and it continued to grow rapidly. By 1776 the population was about 25,000. In 1800 New York City had about 60,000 inhabitants.
So you see, in 100 years, New York City had a population of 5,000 people. Now look at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Look at the base of the Empire State Building. Look at the Smithsonian. Look at the Waldorf Astoria. All of these buildings were there before any of us were here. All of it's been rediscovered and all of it's been buried. You guys all this time was thinking, oh man, when they built my house, they put in a basement. No, the basement was the first floor. I do look homeless, don't I? Yeah. Because that's just the way we look, I guess. But appreciate that. Hang on a second. Now, yeah, you do look homeless. Yeah. But that's cool. So the population of New York was 5,000 in 1700. So if it's 5,000 people, how many of those people are expert bricklayers? How many bricks do you think was necessary to build one cathedral in New York City that is dated? Now, if you guys look, the dates on these buildings is like 1779 or whatever. So by looking at, yeah, exactly. By looking at the statistics of the population, you're going to tell me, like some towns, if it's just one small town. Remember, it's 5,000 people in the entire state of New York. So if we're just looking at one small area, let's just say Manhattan. What was the population of Manhattan in 1700 or 1600? Now we're getting down to the point where if it's 60,000 in 1800, it's 5,000 in 1700. How many people were there in 1600? They're going to sit here and tell us that the only thing that was in the United States at this time was Indians and buffalo. That's all they know. That's because we have been told. They didn't tell you that we had a very large population of people here in the United States up until a certain point where we had a master reset, to which everything was buried under a ton of water and mud. Yeah, what the fuck, Jackie? Hey, what's up? So, at the time, you have to ask yourself, how many bricks does it take to build a church? Now, I'm just going to tell you guys that just on my house, where I have the domes on the roof, okay, each one of those domes is a 5 by 5 meters square, which is like 16 feet or whatever across this way and that way square. It takes 3,000 bricks to make one dome. So you can understand that if you were building a cathedral, you're going to need over 1 million bricks to build. So first question is, if the population in New York was only 5,000, who the fuck was making these bricks? Who was the guy? Who was it? Just the wagon, the horse and buggy guy? You're going to tell me the horse and buggy guy and his crew of people who just migrated here from Germany or Italy or whatever are building cathedrals? Who's paying these people in 1700 to build a cathedral or build a mental institution? You guys remember all those crazy houses from the 1800s and 1900s? The theory is that those are people from the old world and they locked them all up. The other theory is that the Indians were, see, we have characterized the Indians as the Redskins, correct? We say Indians were basically like, reddish tan people that when we arrived in the United States, that was the only people that were here. Well, now we know by looking at the historical record in Mexico. You see, the historical record in Canada and the historical record in Mexico exist. These things happened. These people were here, blah, blah, blah. But when you come to the United States, they have like a fucking whole blackout on history. They want us to believe that it was cowboys and Indians, that I believe, and this is my thought, is that these were the Phoenicians. Phoenicians were Irish people that traveled around the world and probably were under the thing called Tartaria. I'm trying to think of something, but I got nothing. I'm that way too. But I'm just giving you some basics. You got to use a little bit of common sense here to realize that there, this idea that it was all horse and buggy and that people would literally go from the East Coast, travel several weeks to try and get to California to go dig into a mine. Well, I got pictures of California. I got San Francisco specifically during that whole gold rush thing of 1849. In 1849, what was the population of San Francisco? So you got to ask, what was the population of San Francisco in 1849? Be like, okay, it'd be like 50,000 people there. Okay, great. Now, how many buildings were burned during the fire of San Francisco? And it's some ridiculous number, like 1,200 buildings were burned to the ground. Burned to the ground. Walls this thick, burned to the ground. All stone and cement. Burned to the ground. And then it was the earthquake. So the fires didn't do the job. The earthquake will definitely do it. So when they had the California earthquake, it destroyed a lot of those old world buildings. Now, when you look at the old photos, you'll see these megalithic structures right next to a fucking log cabin, like shacks. And they would just build shack, 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 shack. But they'd have these enormous cathedrals. Why would anybody in the 1800s and 1849 build a cathedral in San Francisco in the water? Look at Stanford University. If you look at Stanford University, you're going to say, there's no way they built that in the 1800s out in the water. Have you guys ever seen the Star Fort down in the Florida Keys? All right. That's a good idea, right? In the 1800s to build an enormous fort out of millions of bricks and put it out in the ocean. To build it out in the ocean. Who are they building it for? Spanish can't take credit for any of it. Otherwise, it would be in their history records. Spanish didn't build a fucking thing. The Spanish were there to do reconnaissance, to find out where the structures were so they could go there, identify the structures, take out the gold, and then destroy the building to cover up the evidence. Yeah. I mean, that's wild. This is a big deal. And if you guys look up Tartaria, you come to find out that the mud flood that I'm referring to could have been the great flood that Noah experienced, which we found out to turn out to be true. And now we're start to see evidence. I believe we've had more than one flood. The Noah would be the first. But I know for a fact that Mexico here was abandoned for over 100 years. This town that I'm in right now has an old bridge that's over 1,000 years old. You're going to tell me that the 500 indigenous people that live here in this small town didn't just build a massive, indestructible bridge that's been up there for 1,000 years, but they also built all these Roman roads here that are made out of stone. They also built the Santo Domingo Cathedral. You guys saw that in the last video I did with the underground tunnels underneath of the town. So explain to me how or why 500 people living in a small town would build this. When there are only 500 people here, why would you would need 500 people to make the bricks alone? They'd have to work like 24 hours a day for fucking years to make the bricks necessary to build these cathedrals and so on. Yeah. This dude says he looks like I'm homeless. Yeah. Yeah. I guess so. So yeah, there is a blackout on our history. And there's a damn good reason why, because if you think about this, what was going on during that time? The Civil War. Why would they need to fight a civil war? See, everybody in these pictures, they're all posing. Like the original photos of the Civil War, all that shit's fake. All those people are laying down in the mud. None of it's real. None of it's real. They did, their job was to burn cities. Their job was to destroy anything that looked megalithic. They didn't even know they were doing it, and why they would remove the old world from this world is totally beyond me. You would think they would want, architecture like that. All those old plantations with the big marble columns, those were not made by those plantation owners, and none of those slaves built that shit. Stuff was there hundreds and hundreds of years before they arrived, and it was just uncovered and discovered and then founded. My own house is founded in 1810, but I have the record that it's been buried for 45 years. It's been buried for 45 years. So there's really no way of knowing because there's been no communication. Basically, if they don't want us to know stuff, they just don't talk about it and they don't hold a historical record. Then if they want to make it disappear, then all I have to do is say, well, that's just a conspiracy theory, or if that's just a legend, or if that's just a wives' tale. Then you can successfully say, yeah, there was nobody here before 1492, just Indians. Now, Indians were the remnants of the last civilization. The blacks were down here in Mexico are part of the Tartarian civilization. The Olmecs, the giant heads, all right, those were people were here before 1492. You guys want to really raise some hell? Forget fucking Black Wall Street. How about Black America? Phoenician Black America. There may have been a massive population of indigenous blacks here. And I know for a fact that they have done it before, and they're doing it now, and they're doing it again. And as to make the history disappear so that those people have no clout. You follow what I'm saying here? If you take away their clout and tell them that they're from Africa and they're slaves and they're nothing, they know nothing about their actual ancestors that were there in the States, that lived in these palaces, that built these palaces, that were master stone builders and so on. And it wasn't the indigenous and it wasn't the Spanish. So what a great narrative that if the United States was inhabited by black Indians and Indians, and we killed them out, we killed them off, or the mudfloods killed them off, or the people that were remaining, they put them into those mental institutions that they made out of nothing and locked them up in asylums. Now, the second part is even more fucked up. Is they had a thing called the orphan trains. And the orphan trains were towns that needed to be populated like San Francisco around the turn of the century. And what they essentially did was put ads in the papers that if you can't handle your kids, send them to an orphanage. And that was the narrative. That was the narrative. Well, the truth is that these children were basically stolen from the people from the old world who are locked up in the asylums because they have no memory. So this has got to make perfect sense to you guys that why in the hell of all of the history in the entire world, including Australia, Japan, China now has these ancient Roman ruins too that they dollied up with their Asian and they you know what I mean? They painted them, they cover them up so that no one sees the old world. It never made sense to me. Like all those old buildings are dangerous. Those old buildings will never fall down. You and I build a building that falls down in 40 years. Those people built a building that lasts over 1,000, and they're indestructible. My house, for example, was just like the front end was destroyed, the back end was destroyed by dynamite because I have tunnels that go underneath the ground, they go all over the town, and they go for miles. But these fucking dickheads wanted to, whatever reason, destroy my house before I bought it. So they knocked the fucking wall down with cement, with the dynamite, and they cracked the fucking arcs that go in the. I'll show you next time I go to the castle. I'm gonna show you guys. But they put dynamite in the tunnels down below to flood them. Okay, yeah, this is important. Okay, materials that were used in the cement. Now, all of these buildings are identical. If you look around, you'll see Roman ruin, Romanesque style buildings. All of them have this mixture. And they just found out, I think, 2 or 3 years ago what the actual mixture was in Roman concrete or whatever you want to call it. The additional ingredients is quicklime, silica, powdered nopales, which is like cactus, and seawater. So you add these other ingredients in addition to whatever your mixture of Portland cement or whatever the hell it is, and it heals itself. So if something breaks, the silica and the stuff in, I guess when it gets wet or whatever, expands and it fills in cracks. In any kind of pressure, it hardens up. So the harder you hit it, the harder that it becomes. So the combination of those ingredients in the stuff, yeah, way better. You could not knock one of my walls down if you wanted to. They had to use dynamite. They had to use dynamite. I know I wanted to show you another one of the things is like right as you're coming in the door. Oh, by the way, guys, this is off of my original topic about, kids being mentally abused by their parents. As guys like me that got fucked up as a kid and we get help, we go on to do great stuff. Other kids who were given a comfortable life and never had to go through any kind of struggles or anything like that, those people have been given a soft life. I don't envy those people. I don't envy myself for what the fuck I went through, but it really hardened me up. It hardened me as a person on the inside and the outside. It made me very jaded towards, just the shitty stuff that people do. But it started to make me realize is that this world is evil and there's a lot of evil people in it. And the best thing for you to do is to just find your own people. That if your family is not nice to you, don't deal with them. Walk away. Wash your fucking hands and walk away. Because you're not going to convince them to love you. I'm not convinced. I'll never talk to my brother again for the rest of my life. And that's his sentence. That's his punishment. He's been on my fucking live streams. He's trying to chat it up. I don't listen to him. I don't fucking pay attention to what he says. I don't give a fuck. Because that guy knows what the fuck he did to me. And I don't forgive him for it. I'm not going to forgive him for it. These people deliberately did this stuff because they are jealousy. They want to fuck me up. And I'm looking back. It's like every single time that my dad may have referred to me beat my brother up, he doesn't realize is that a lot of time, you don't just fight for no reason. You don't beat your brother for no reason. We get provoked. So we're the bad guys, right? Because that's what it is for guys too. Because if a woman hits a man and then the police gets called, the guy gets arrested, how's that fucking work out? 70% of reported domestic abuse cases are perpetrated by the wife. And that includes child abuse too. 70%. So you can see, fellas, they have become what we used to fucking be. The fucked up guys that we used to be, they have become us. So if you ever say anything bad about a woman, you're a misogynist. You're a bad guy. It's okay to talk about men though, because men are bad. Men are stupid. Men don't know any better. Men ain't shit. Men ain't got money. But I'll tell you what, without men, you all starve to death. Without men, you all freeze to death. Without men, you don't get your Amazon packages. Yeah, but there's women out. Yeah, whatever. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. All right? You can't minimize what men do. And the idea that you think you can is just another form of mental abuse. So that's our comeback, guys. That's our comeback. You're misogynist, but you're mentally abusive. And it's clear. A lot more mentally fucking abusive. Even my own mom, that I look to this day, is like, the damage that you do to fucking boys will be carried out in prison sentences later on in life. Mentorship is the solution to this problem. Without fathers, you need mentors. And if you're a mentor, you're not sexually involved with the moms. You keep your distance. You mentor those kids like you're supposed to. So they don't grow up and go, well, my mentor fucked my mom, by the way, and became my stepdad or some shit. Stay away from these moms. Stay away from them. All you need to do is teach a kid how to throw a ball. All you got to do is teach a kid how to use tools. That combats delinquency. That combats delinquency. These women don't have your best interest at heart. They're more interested in themselves and their Instagram feed and getting attention from other men than they are of being honorable towards you. So I say, wash your hands, don't deal with the fucking abuse, and walk away. Especially in a black community. Are you kidding me? If you don't recognize that those women are abusing you, it's not just mental abuse. And what brought it up is probably those, stupid balloon popping fucking bullshit shows that shows that men don't mean anything. They're there to toy with us. So I say, get your passport. Fuck these fucking people. They don't have your interest. If you go down sideways, your woman gonna help you out? And I'm sure if she's down with you since the day one, yeah. But she probably doesn't have fucked up trauma like a lot of girls have. A lot of girls have, trauma from their ex-boyfriends, from their uncles, trying to touch them and shit. I've dated all these messed up girls, so I know better. That's why I say when I see guys, I'm like, why on earth would you put up with the girl? Because you don't have to. We hold the real value here now. If you guys didn't know. We hold the value in the sexual marketplace. Especially as you get older, as a guy, your value goes up. And the value of them goes down. So you could be a short guy. If you're having a problem because you're a short guy, I got good news that the girls down here in Latin America are shorter. And they're so much nicer. They don't do that yelling shit. It would be dishonorable for, Colombians especially are super nice. You guys may not know that. Only the drug cartels are bad. But Colombian people in general are super sweet. They would never hurt your feelings. That blows people's mind. They come to Colombia and the girls are fucking nice. They're not just nice looking. They're friendly. Well, good morning. Hola, buenos dias. Wow. Follow me? So it's much easier. You don't have to deal with none of this ratchet ass bullshit where you got to pay for $300 dinners. Dude, you guys are wasting your money. This girls ain't worth fucking $5 tacos. Tacos from not even real tacos. Taco Bell, if that. She's thinking Red Lobster. Huh, I'm thinking Burger King. What do you think about that? Listen, guys, it's time to get up and get after this shit. It's Friday, I think. I had some other good stuff to talk about, but I think we should keep it because I really don't want to get all emotionally involved with this stuff. It does affect me, even to this day, but it doesn't affect me to the level it did before. So if you know about or heard of, what happens to people when they're raised by single mothers or they're mentally abused, just like the statistics say, some ridiculous number of boys end up in prison simply because they don't have a father in the home. Because with a father in the home, we ain't gonna put up with none of that bullshit. So do me a favor, hit that like button on the way out. Appreciate you guys coming in this early. I'm the professor, and I'm gone. I'll see you later.